Okay, welcome to the WEConnect Academy Live module number 2, which is Understanding Your Customer. We've done module 1 already, and you have access to that at our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/WeConnection, and also through the WeConnect Academy. And I will show you at the end how you can access that, so you can access the modules that you have access to on your own. But first, let's get started. I'm Liz Whitehead. I'm the Director of Women's Business Development for WeConnect International. I'm going to be presenting today a module that we developed in coordination with Walmart. And the idea of these modules, this is the second of 10. The idea is to present to women business owners key tips and insights into doing business with major corporations. A lot of the information that you'll see will be applicable to companies whether or not you're doing business with a major purchasing organization, but throughout the modules we also have expert tips and content from WeConnect International corporate members. So that's the focus of it, but it's really beneficial for any kind of business owner. And as I mentioned, you have access to those on your own through our e-learning tool, which I'll show you in a little bit. So I'm going to share my slides. If you're on the computer, you should be able to see them. If you're just listening in, you won't be able to see them. So understanding and reaching your customer. As I mentioned, the development of all 10 modules was made possible with the support of Walmart. And the objective of this module is to develop and optimize your interactions with target customers, and we'll get into what that means. I'm not going to go through every single slide because we don't have time to do that, but I'm going to hit some of the key points, and one aspect of this in particular is your actual pitch, is that your actual sales pitch to your potential customer. I'm going to skip a little bit over that because I think that warrants a full module and potentially an expert speaker later on. But what we are going to cover is ways that you can know your customer, how to refine your relationship building skills, understanding the procurement and sales cycles, perfecting your pitch I'm just going to touch on, and then, importantly, leveraging the corporate supplier diversity and inclusion teams, which are the teams that work most closely with us at WeConnect, and most likely you as you approach them through the WeConnect International Network. So knowing your customer. The key things you want to consider in terms of knowing your customer are the size, not only the size of your customer, but your size and your capacity and ability to meet the customer's needs. The industry, does their industry have a direct relation to your product or service or an indirect relation to your product or service? For example, if you are looking to do business with Walmart and you're selling them an actual product they sell in their stores, well, that's a direct relation to their product or service. If you're selling them HR training for people that work in their warehousing departments or people that work in their stores, that's more of an indirect relation to their product or service. And it's important to know where you fall in that. You want to know the geography, so not only the geography that they cover, but what your capacity is to work locally, regionally, nationally, or internationally. And you want to know the access. So what are the current relationships you have that can help you meet this customer, and what are the business connections you may need to make to meet this customer? All of these are important in identifying who your potential customers are and, importantly, who they aren't. If one of the companies, based on their size and geography, is not a good fit for you right now, that's good to know, because then it just provides you the information you need to move on to someone that is a better potential for you. So once you know kind of who your potential customer is, or you're starting to determine that, what you want to know is who are the decision makers. If you don't know, this is a really great question to ask as you start to build your relationship with a potential customer. You want to know how do they do their procurement? How do they buy their goods and services? Is it centralized, meaning it all takes place in one place? Is it decentralized? A lot of the hospitality industry is more like this, where the general managers have a lot of authority over buying what goes into the hotel, or is there a combination? For example, in some places, anyone can buy anything that's under $5,000 on their purchasing card, but for larger contracts, that has to go through the procurement processes. Those are all good things to ask as you get to know your potential customer. Is there a third-party procurement organization? This would be a company like Avendra that might actually do the procurement and the supply chain management for that company. And are there single or multiple decision makers? Once you talk to one person, are you going to have to move on up the chain to the next person before you can start the process? What's key to know here, and we'll reiterate this a couple of times, is that the supplier diversity person or the representative from these companies that works with WEConnect International is, for the most part, not the decision maker. They're the person whose job is to make sure women and diverse suppliers are in the supply chain. So while they might be a good door opener to get you to the decision makers, they're really your advocate within the company. And they might not be buying what you sell. They might not have expert knowledge about what they're looking for, but they're going to be your advocate. So it's important to treat them as such, to give them the information they need to advocate for you. They're also great people to answer these preliminary questions in terms of how procurement is done. Asking questions and really listening to the answers is going to differentiate you as a supplier that really wants to help them meet their needs. So these are examples of decision makers. In some cases, it may be the supplier diversity and inclusion team. More often, it's going to be either corporate procurement, depending on what you sell, frontline managers, or business unit leaders. If you're doing gender diversity training, you might need to talk to human resources. If you're offering IT staffing, it may be information technology, and so on. So knowing who those decision makers are and having an idea of where you fit in is going to be really helpful when you present yourself to the company. So how do you get started? So if the supplier diversity people are your advocates, how are you going to find them? A key way is to look at the member pages with the links to their supplier diversity portals and websites. So a lot of these companies have their own supplier diversity portals where they will look for diverse suppliers. If you have been asked, some of you might have come to the WeBank conference in Austin, and you may have been asked to register on our site. Their sites are where they will look first to see if there's any suppliers that meet their needs and that are certified through WEConnect International. If they don't find anyone there, then they'll come to us and look through the e-network or ask us if we know of anyone. So one thing you can do, I'm going to stop sharing the screen right now, is show you the WeConnect International website where you can actually start to find this preliminary information. So here you see the list of our corporate members. You can view global members, local members, view all, and you can click on their websites. You can see when you click on AIG, it takes you to their supplier diversity website. You can find out their supplier diversity policy, their commodities. You can find a list of the goods and services they purchase, what they mean when they classify diverse-owned companies, and how to register with AIG as a diverse-owned business. So if you are looking at AIG as a potential customer, then this is a great place to start to register in their site. Now, one caveat is many of these companies started their supplier diversity programs, the process of looking for diverse suppliers to buy goods and services in the U.S. So some of their sites may not be set up for international people to register in the diversity portal. That's okay. That's, again, another thing you want to ask of your contact there in terms of, I tried to register at the site, I wasn't able to put in my postal code because it's only accepting U.S. postal codes or what have you. So you want to make sure that that's, whatever obstacle or challenge you face, use as an opportunity to help build the relationship with your advocate in the company. So if the advocate isn't listed here, you can definitely contact them there. The next step is to go to the WEConnect International e-network and log in, and you'll be able to see a whole list of the corporate members and their contacts. Some of you might experience have been able to do that and log in. You just use your login and password that you use to create your profile, to create your application, and you can log in and see that. It'll look a little bit like this. You'll be able to search. You can search by industry, you can search by location, and you'll get an alphabetical list of the corporate members. And that'll show you the contact information if you aren't able to log into the supplier diversity portal or you're ready to move on to the next step. So another thing you want to understand, at this point, you've determined that a particular corporation is a good fit for you, and you've looked up, you have a supplier diversity contact, maybe you have some other contacts from the industry. The next thing to understand is the procurement cycle and its alignment to your sales cycle. So we're going to spend a little bit of time on this so you understand how the supplier diversity program works within the existing procurement cycles of the companies. Probably a lot of you have experienced that even when a company has a matchmaking meeting with you or has requested to meet with you, there might not be an immediate opportunity. And the reason for that is because they're fitting the supplier diversity goals, the goals of doing business with women and diverse suppliers, into their procurement cycles. So when you are looking to do business with a major purchasing organization, you are likely either replacing or supplementing a current supplier, or you're providing a brand new product or service. In either case, the contracts can be multiple years in length. So if you're replacing a current supplier, they might have a supplier that provides the product or service that you do, but that's not a diverse supplier. A company isn't certified, so they're looking to diversify that. Or they have a tier 1 supplier, meaning someone that sells directly to them, but they want some innovative or niche products that you can provide. So the contracts with those companies that exist could be multiple years in length, so the opportunity might not be immediately available. In some cases, the timing can be a factor playing to your advantage. For example, if you have a car service and the CEO of the company just had a really bad experience with the existing car service, well, then timing's a factor. They're looking to change, they're looking to change right away, and you can come in and provide that service. It may not be. If they've just signed a contract with a new supplier, then you might have to wait a little while, and that's where your relationship building skills are really going to come into play. It's good to take, this is probably the only time you'll hear this in your entrepreneurial life, but sometimes it is okay to take no for an answer, especially if you think, okay, well, the opportunity isn't available to me yet. And the reason I say that is you're able to build a relationship much easier and a much stronger relationship if it's based on pleasant persistence and listening to what the corporate member needs. For example, if they say, we don't need your services right now, okay, that's fine. You don't want to follow up then 2 days later and say, okay, do you need my services now? What you want to say is there a good time I can follow up just to check in and see if there's additional opportunities. Again, use any obstacles as an opportunity to build a relationship with your supplier, with your customer or your potential customer. If multiple decision makers are involved, the process could be prolonged. And finally, as I was talking about, research Tier 2 opportunities if private supplier opportunities aren't available. So if there's a Tier 1 supplier that has a multiple-year contract, you might want to find out how you can supply as a Tier 2 supplier to that company. And that's something that the supplier diversity person can potentially help you identify as well. Again, if you built a relationship with them. So that brings us to the sales cycle. Everyone is a salesperson. The procurement cycle determines how the company actually buys things. The sales cycle is how you present yourself to the company and is much longer than the procurement cycle. The sales cycle starts from the moment you meet the representative from your company and start to build that relationship. To do that, you have to understand and know your story. We talk a lot about that in Module 1, which you can view, again, on our YouTube channel. We gave a webinar last month, and you also have access to it through the WEConnect Academy. That really helps you sort of explain and put down on paper, literally, what your story is. Then you have to understand and know your potential customer story, and this is where research comes in handy. One, the kind of research I talked about through the WEConnect network, but then also just the company website, recent press releases, annual reports. You want to look for the opportunity gaps, so look where they might have a problem that you can solve, and ask questions. Before you engage with them, you have to understand our story. Our story is how your company differentiates itself and can provide value to the company that you are looking to provide a product or service for. Even if you're providing something very straightforward, you provide pencils and Walmart buys pencils. There's got to be a reason they're going to switch from their current customer to you. The certification can certainly help with that, but it's not going to be the only thing. They're going to look for cost savings, innovation, or something that's going to get their customers in the stores and buying things. So you really want to understand what the problem is that you solve for them before you approach them. It can't just be, I'm a woman-owned business, and it can't just be, you buy pencils and I sell pencils, so why don't you buy my pencils? There has to be a story or a problem that you're actually solving. So how do you find out what that is? One is the research that we talked about, and two is beginning the relationship building process. The minute you reach out to these company representatives, you're not just selling, but you're beginning the relationship building process. Your focus should be to build that foundation on which you're able to sell later, and you want to tailor your message to the audience. So I think one of the most important things is art of the sale is not convincing people to buy what you have, but it's finding out what they want and your ability to deliver that. And they're going to buy for their own reasons, not yours. So you might know your product and your prices backwards and forwards, but the important thing is to know, what are they really looking for? Everybody wants the lowest price, but if high quality is more important to them, you want to find that out. And the way you do that is asking questions and really listening to the answers. There's one thing that you take from this entire presentation, it's to listen. Not only will you be better prepared to work from an informed and educated position, but you will really differentiate yourself from the suppliers that are just looking to sell, 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 and that aren't listening to how they can actually build a relationship and a partnership with their potential customer. So when you make the presentation, you want to maximize what you've learned through relationship building. You also want to have a solid capability statement. Again, we talked about that in the first module, and how your product or service relates to their benefits. And this, if you're making this presentation in person, your appearance, your body language, your cadence, that's all going to reflect on you and your company. You want to address any objections they might have, but most of all, ask questions and listen. Closing the sale, and I put sale this should actually be in quotes, is ask for the opportunity, because this is not the final step. So closing the sale in this case may be asking the supplier diversity person to introduce you to the next person. It may be asking who the decision makers are. It may be asking who the Tier 1 supplier is. So you want to make sure that you close off your first presentation, your first opportunity, with asking for the next opportunity. And if you do get the opportunity to sell, the important thing is to deliver results. Deliver on time, on budget, give them what you promised, and add perceived value. What I hear from our corporate members is the value of doing business with a woman-owned company or a diverse supplier or a small business is that you get really personalized service. Going back to the pencil example, this company may be able to buy a pencil from a major company, from a Staples, but if there's an issue, they're not going to be able to get the CEO of Staples on the phone. The idea is that you are going to give them that kind of service, that kind of quality, and whatever else differentiates your company. That's how you retain your customers. As you all know, retaining customers is a lot easier than making a new customer because you don't have to go through everything we've talked about. You want to become a preferred provider. We can build multiple relationships within one organization. They're huge companies, so you want to be referred to different divisions within the company. And you can leverage these internal referrals. I would say along those same lines, supplier diversity world is very small. So a lot of these corporate members will talk to each other. If they have a good supplier that's certified, that can provide results on time and on budget, they're going to talk to one another and you will also be able to get referrals that way. So just to reiterate, relationship building is the most critical stage of the sales cycle, and you never want to miss an opportunity to get to know your potential customers. So I think one of the ways that WEConnect helps with that, one, we provide you the data on the website and also through the e-network, but there's also events and programs where you can actually meet people face-to-face and get to know them. We have conferences coming up in lots of different locations at the end of 2015. There'll be conferences in Brazil, Canada, China, Europe, India, and Mexico. If you're in those places, you should definitely make an effort to get to those conferences and meet these people face-to-face, because relationship building is that critical. If you're not located there, you want to investigate, is it worth it to go to a conference in Europe or in China? If that's where your customers are, that might be a good step in building that relationship. And finally, don't forget about your fellow women business owners. They are also your potential customers, and they may be doing business with the company that you want to do business with. So make sure that you are considering all these options and the cost-benefit analysis beyond just, well, I'm not sure I have the time or the energy to travel. You want to say, can you afford not to go, and really leverage these relationships and the opportunities that the WEConnect network gives you. So before we move on to how you leverage supplier diversity, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So this is where we sort of want to go beyond the hard sell, which is just the sales pitch, and actually talk about starting a conversation. You definitely want to talk about how you're able to address a problem they have or find a solution, but it's not just, these are my prices, sell, sell, sell. Really listen and start to develop that. Start with a conversation. And that allows you to take the sales pressure off yourself and enjoy the relationship building process. You can't create the kind of trust that these companies need to mitigate their risk in a few minutes. You should look at each opportunity as an opportunity to keep building on that foundation, and it may take as many as 12 or more separate interactions. It's a good idea to even track that, track how many interactions you've had with the company and how you want to follow up. Be genuine and authentic. Definitely leverage your strengths and don't try and be someone you're not. Also, don't try and say you can do everything. Another thing I hear from corporate members is that if your niche is information technology, you do IT staffing and IT consulting, and they're like, well, we're really looking for someone who, to be a CFO in our company. We're looking for financial people, and you say, well, I can do that. It's tempting to do it, but unless you really have an expertise in that niche, sticking with what your strengths are, what your real value add is going to be more attractive in the long run. You might get some follow-up meetings in the short run, but really you want to present where your strengths are. So be memorable, be present, listen, and become known as a great resource. If you can help others connect to opportunities and be seen as a resource there, it will come back to you. So I want to real quickly give you one expert insight from one of our corporate members. So that's Michael Robinson, who's the chair of our board, and he works for IBM, which has probably one of the most robust supplier diversity programs. And so he also is reiterating how these opportunities that come up provide you an opportunity to build relationships with people like him. The ITC event he talked about was in Mexico. It was in Brazil a few days ago, but it's okay if you missed it, because if you look at our calendar of events, which is on our website, you'll see all of the other conferences that are coming up in the next few months. So you still have those opportunities to go out and start to build those relationships. Okay. As I mentioned, I'm going to skip a little bit over the pitch. Your elevator pitch or speech is a short summary used to quickly and simply define a product, service, or organization and its value proposition. The idea is that you should be able to deliver this in the time span of an elevator ride. So if you got into an elevator with Michael Robinson, how would you present yourself and make this impression in 30 to 60 seconds? And I would really say 30 seconds. 60 seconds is a lot, because an effective pitch is concise, clear, powerful, and reflective of your own personal and authentic style. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, again, because I think it's a module of its own, but the importance of doing all this research, and you think, it seems like it's going to take a long time, all this relationship building, all this customer research. Do I have the time and energy to do it? The reason why you want to do it is because it's going to make your pitch that much more effective as you approach these corporations. And we'll hear a little bit about your pitch, again, from Michael Robinson. So that leads us into the next thing we're going to cover, which is leveraging supplier diversity. So we're going to start that out with an expert insight from Peter Zerp from Accenture, and he's going to talk a little bit about that. So even in that little snippet, Peter gave you a lot of information about Accenture, right? So you can see that how people like Michael and Peter would be good resources in talking about their own corporations. He told you Accenture has 260,000 employees. He told you that some of their biggest customers are the major multinational corporations. But he also mentioned that if you bring your passion for what you do, then that's the most important thing that he wants to see. As Michael Robinson said, you know, being a diverse supplier is great. That's what got you to these programs and events, but it's not what you want to lead with when you're approaching these companies. What you want to lead with is, one, your passion, and two, these are the solutions you provide to the problems they might have. So as we talked about before, supplier diversity is an advocacy function within an organization. It ensures the development and procurement opportunities are available to all capable business enterprises, regardless of the business owner's gender, ethnicity, and other factors, which traditionally or historically may have been exclusionary. So the idea is that they want the best suppliers. I've often heard our corporate members say that, like, yes, my role is to get diverse suppliers, but really what I want are the best suppliers for my company. And I use the supplier diversity programs to make sure we're not overlooking someone that might be the best supplier out there. So it may be integrated with procurement, maybe integrated with diversity and inclusion or human resources, or even public relations or corporate social responsibility. As we mentioned, the role of the supplier diversity representative is typically not a decision maker, but it's an advocate and a door opener. So supplier diversity do's and don'ts. Again, listening and asking questions. 2, don't be overly persistent. So this is always a hard balance to strike, but I think it's a really good way to start a relationship by saying, how should I communicate with you? Should I email you? Should I call you on the phone? Should we set up a Skype call? And how frequently should I communicate with you? Quarterly via email? You're building relationships, and that takes time. You just think about yourself and how you would feel if you're making a new friend and that friend is calling you every day, twice a day. And even if that is something that you would like, you want to think about, what would this person like? What is this person that I'm trying to build a relationship with? What would they like? And the best thing to do is ask them. It's a great way to start off your relationship and shows that you're willing. This is your first opportunity to show how well you can listen. You want to help them help you. So they're probably not an expert in the product or service you provide. You might want to offer suggestions as to what function in their organization you think you fit into. And that's, again, when your research is going to come in handy. You want to follow instructions by registering on the corporation's website. As I mentioned, you might not be able to, there might be issues, but again, you're demonstrating that you're willing to work within their processes from the very beginning. And if there's an issue, you've brought it to their attention. You want to follow up as appropriate and keep the supplier diversity team in the loop. If you have met with decision makers, if you have other people within that organization, if you're already doing business with this company, those are all things you want to keep your supplier diversity advocate in the loop on, because again, we mentioned that there are many divisions within these corporations, and they can also, if you're doing great things on time, on budget, they want to make sure that you're working with them in other capacities. So keep all of that in mind. And then we're going to go to one thing that you can do once you've looked up all of the corporate members and you have registered on their websites. The other thing to keep in mind is they're going to search for you on the WEConnect International e-network. You have the ability to put a profile in there, and the ones that are more complete are going to be taken very seriously by the corporate members. So you can update your own profile. Corporations often search by keywords. So if you are a law firm and you've put law firm in what you do, that's very descriptive for me when I'm able to say, okay, I know what your company does. But if you provide legal services and I search for legal, I'm not going to be able to find you. So that's one key tip in filling out your profile, is you want to use all the keywords the corporations would use to search for you. The sourcing team, which is the WBE in the UK, has a very strong profile. So you can also look for your fellow women business owners and see how they've done it to get ideas. So I'm going to finish up with a final expert insight from Sodexo. Okay, I think some of the videos you couldn't hear, so I'm actually going to go back and do those so you can hear them. All right. Well, I think we'll have to work on the audio for the videos. One way that you can definitely hear the audio for what they're covering is by logging into the WEConnect Academy. So as I mentioned, we didn't cover everything in this session. So what you want to do is go to WEConnectAcademy.docebosaas.com. Once you go there, you use your email address to log in, the same email address you use to log into the e-network. And then if you don't have a password, just click on Lost Password. Once you do that, you'll be able to log into the WEConnect Academy and view all of these modules directly. So you'll be able to see not only understanding your customer, but if you're self-registered, you'll be able to see modules 1 to 4. And if you are certified, you'll actually be able to see all 10 modules. If you want to see more about the WEConnect Academy Live, we're having another webinar. This is geared towards educational opportunities for the business owners, and that's September 17th. It's all about B Corp certification, and our Director of Certification, Carrie Murphy, will be leading that. So for more information on that and the events we mentioned, go to WEConnectInternational.org/en/calendar of events with a link there, and you'll be able to see that going forward. So I appreciate everyone joining, and I hope if you have any questions, you can also contact us at WEConnect, and I hope to see you at one of our next webinars. Thanks.